What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are going to be discussing on this live 3 different ways to grow a database. You guys ready? Let's go ahead and hop right into it. It's going to be a quick training, but I think you're going to find it super valuable. So again, we always start with the tables full slide. Let's go ahead and pop over to before we get into the 3 different ways of building a database, let's talk about why in the world should you be building a database in the first place? Well, the reality is if you're spending money on marketing, your marketing efforts and advertising dollars need to be going to growing a database. This way you can see actual results. You see, most restaurants, they look at their advertising timeline and budget in a full year period. Most bigger chains like the Domino's of the world, the Papa John's, any other big restaurant chains, they look in 12-month periods. So at the first year, they sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and allocate my budget Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 for all of my advertising here up front. Now, that's okay. It's not a bad thing to look at your advertising timeline in that period of time, but what are you spending your advertising money on? The majority of restaurants are using traditional media. Things like magazines, direct mail, TV, radio. They're spending money to advertise the restaurant to have one end goal at the end of the full year that they're looking at. They obviously want sales growth. That's what all restaurants are spending their money and their advertising budget to get to, is they want to see that sales growth at the end of the year. They want it to be higher than last year. But since most are using traditional marketing, this is what it looks like at the end of the year. Their expectations were, yes, everything's super pumped. Sales may or may not have went up. Hopefully they did. If it did, obviously they're going to have this reaction. But the reaction that most restaurant owners end up having after a full year is a question mark. Not that they're sad or they're angry that their advertising didn't work. They had a sales growth. But where did that sales growth come from? That's why building a database is so important. Because if you're spending your time, money, energy in advertising your restaurant to not get data from the customers walking in, you're just wasting time and money because you have no idea where those customers are actually coming from. This is what database building looks like over a 12-month period of time. At the end of that 12 months, you don't have to be curious or wondering where all those customers come from. Okay? You get the growth of the database over the course of the year. You get to look 12 months back and say, hey, we spent all of this time, money, and effort, and we've got 10, 15,000 people with their phone number, their email, their birthday. Hopefully you've collected more information along the way as we talk about segmenting your audience, and you learn exactly who your customers are. Not only do you get your database, you also get sales growth at the end of the year. Okay, so now you've gotten a database in addition to what you would typically get from sales growth. You also get sales on the back end of that. But the most important thing that people forget about when it comes to building a database, if you're looking at it from a 12-month period of time, is you get attribution. And attribution is the ability to look and relay exactly where your sales growth came from. You now can say, we spent this much money in this particular quarter, or maybe even this particular month. We had great sales growth. We built a database of this much, and now we can directly relate our sales growth back to the database and the money we spent investing, getting data from these people. And now if you know how much money you've made or how much of a sales growth you've made, let's say off of a couple of months or a 12-month period, you can attribute it back to that database, and you can now just pump money in to create a flywheel style effect to where you can know exactly what you're going to make at the end of the year. As far as an advertising ROI goes, at least, if you know for a fact, which our customers do, they know how much it costs to acquire a new customer to walk in the door. You have unlimited earning potential at that point because you could spend as much money as you would like to get that sale. If you know exactly how much when you're spending, you're getting somebody to walk in the door. So that's what you get off building a database and why it's important to build a database. Now, we're here to talk about the 3 different ways to grow a database. And these are going to be ways that completely throw you off from what you would typically hear. There's 3 different types of people and ways you can grow a database. You could be fishing for customers. You could be hunting for customers, or you could be farming for customers. And before you look at me crazy, even though you probably already are through this camera, these are the 3 different ways to grow a database. Okay, hunters hunt down their ideal customers, and they go out in public to find exactly where they are and hang out where they're at. So when I say you're hunting to build a database, I'm talking about you're doing things like promoting your restaurant through local meetups. Maybe you're doing community outreach or helping get involved in the community extremely heavily. You can grow a database through hunting, through these different methods. You could grow a database by farming. Farmers, they slowly build their following, but once they've actually spent time cultivating that following, they end up crushing it. So farmers are restaurant owners who spend time, more focused on making sure their social media posts look great. They're, doing quality video content, or regardless, the content that they're posting is growing their audience online to where those people are liking, trusting that brand, and that's how they like it and start to become customers of it. Or you could be fishing for a database. Okay, fishers are the smartest ones. They go to where their customers are swimming, where they're hanging out, and then they cast out and wait for their audience to actually bite on, and then either walk in the doors or collect their information, whatever it may be. Fishing is using offers, promotions, etc., to build your database. Now, how do you execute and actually do all 3 of these different things? Because in reality, you may be thinking I should be heavy on one or spend time doing one of these, when you should be actually focusing and executing on all 3. All 3 of these can grow a quality database, and you could do all 3 without spending much money. And I'm going to show you how to do that tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, if you guys join my Facebook group, it's going to be in the above or in the description. I'm going to be teaching a training on exactly how you can execute and become the fisherman, become the hunter, become the farmer, on finding where your customers are at and then growing a database instead of just spending money on advertising and having no idea where those people come from. So if you want to know how you can actually grow a database from these 3 different methods, and using real world examples of clients we've already had success doing these 3 different tactics with, feel free to join the Facebook group. It's not going to cost you anything, and it will be some great training that I hope you get value from and you're able to take back to your restaurant and use yourself. So I know it was a short one tonight. Hopefully you find some value out of it. Let me know below. Are you the hunter? Are you a fisher? Are you the farmer? Which one are you? And look forward to hopefully seeing you in the group tomorrow for our training. Have a good night.